Hi, I'm Kai from GenAI Fund. We are an AI-focused fund in Southeast Asia.
Thanks so much for coming on. It's great to finally meet you in person. Thanks for braving the Filipino heat. I don't know how this compares to Ho Chi Minh heat, but yeah, thanks for doing this with me. And it was great to see you at Ignite, at TechShake's Ignite event. I think during your panel, you also mentioned that the last time you were here was also for that event 6 years ago. We talked off the record about some of his experiences and culture shock coming here to the Philippines, which is great. But I think for this podcast, I wanted to focus a little bit more on your experience coming into Insignia Ventures Academy as you're an alumni from one of the previous cohorts. So maybe we can start with that. How did you find out about Insignia Ventures Academy? I think at the time you were at AWS. And what made you decide to join the program?
Yeah, thanks, Paulo, for having me here. It's good to be back in Manila and shooting this with this very interesting weather. I'm sure we will survive that as hustlers in the startup ecosystem. Yeah, so I think in terms of the journey with IVA, I think that's a very interesting one because it's probably 4 or 5 years ago during COVID time when everyone had so much time to kill. And I'm one of the guys, right? Like AWS work is not it's not keeping me busy enough that I wanted to.
I'm not sure AWS should hear this, but
joke aside, I mean, work is really busy.
Right.
COVID time, everyone has to do double, triple kind of workload. But it's just that you still have a lot of free time, and you wanted to really
pick up new skills and things like that.
Yeah. So that's where I started thinking about what is the best way to upskill myself while keeping it relevant to the kind of industry and ecosystem I want to be more specialized in. So actually the starting point was actually that my ex-manager at AWS, Diggy, he was actually in the very first cohort with IVA. So that's how I knew about the program initially. And knowing Diggy, I know he's pretty selective in terms of how and where he spent his time. This kind of where I started feeling that, okay, maybe this is something that I should definitely check out. So that's kind of how I got inspired. And then I started talking to the program manager. I think back then it was Gail, and trying to understand the curriculum, and I saw that a lot of these elements and components in the curriculum are very hands-on, which I don't see in many other programs that I was trying to enroll. So that's why I decided that, okay, let's give it a try and do something more fun and hands-on.
So you went for the job and you joined, and I think Diggy was part of that first cohort, and since then we've had a lot of great folks from AWS like yourself join a little mafia, so to speak, there and coming out of IVA. But specific to your experience during the 12 weeks, what was the most memorable part that whole 12 weeks for you?
Yeah, I have to say that I was very lucky because during COVID time, you are stuck at home and you couldn't make a lot of new friends as well. And I was quite lucky to be put in the same team with 4 other teammates, which we still keep in touch until today. And I think the most interesting thing is that every one of us treated this very seriously because being in a program like IVA, it's up to you to maximize the value that you want to get out of this program. It's adult learning of working hours and everyone is busy as well. So I think the very fun thing is that all of us in the team shared the same interest that, hey, we like startups, we want to learn about the industry more, and we want to see how we can eventually become an investor ourselves so that we can add more value to the startups. So I think that kind of environment, that kind of vibe, I think is very fun learning process for me. On top of the practical experience, like for example, every week we came together behaving like a real VC in some way that, hey, where's the pipeline and what have you done and which are the startups that you guys want to pitch for the IC this week. So I think that kind of teamwork, that kind of like real life simulation and where everyone treated it very seriously, I think that's itself is a fun experience for me. And looking back, it made me feel like I did try my best to spend my time on really meaningful things during COVID time.
No, I think I remember you guys as being one of the most active teams. And was there a particular takeaway from that whole experience? I'm sure there were a lot of sessions. There's also the practical experience as well. What was a particular takeaway that sticks with you until today?
I would say that the theme for me is still very much centered around the team, because whether it's IVA or whether it's GenAI Fund for what I'm doing now, it's really the people that make you feel that you want to do this and you want to do it even more. Because it really comes down to a lot of self-discipline. So I would say that I think part of it is luck, but in a way, we as a team, we actually try to set up very tight cadences, even beyond just the IVA curriculum. And for example, we are so serious to the point that a few of us actually decided to co-invest in a few startups together, right? And one of the startups actually got acquired in just a few months' time after we did the deal together. And then we also did another deal, which is a YC-backed startup. So I say that it couldn't have happened without having the right teammates and committing to this process and eventually making it something real so that we really walk away with a real life experience.
And then I guess coming out of the IBA program, you were still at AWS, but I remember you moved from KL to Vietnam. What was behind that decision? And then maybe fast forward a little bit, how did you end up joining forces with your fellow AWS, I guess, folks from around the region to start GenAI Fund?
The move to Vietnam is both personal and business at the same time. Personally, I think it's really that the kind of COVID experience where you're stationed in one place for years without moving around.
Yeah.
That changed the way that you want to experience life. And so I've been thinking about it during COVID time that I wanted to make a move.
Yeah.
And I was thinking very hard about where it's going to be. Because for me, I really want to stay in Southeast Asia.
Right.
I know a lot of people want to go to the US, they want to go to Silicon Valley, they want to go to different more advanced economies where startup ecosystem may be a bit more established. But ASEAN has always been where my heart is. So if it's not Malaysia, then where should I go? And for me, the way I think about it is that I want to be on a rocket ship. And when I look at the different markets, I think Vietnam has that kind of potential that hasn't been unleashed. And because I had to choose between Indonesia and Vietnam.
Oh, I see.
And for me, I felt like Indonesia is at its peak. And for me to bring certain value, I think it's not going to be super meaningful in that sense. And Vietnam is still on the rise. And there's so much thing that I can do. So that's why I decided that, okay, let's go to Vietnam. I like the people there. They are so hustling. And maybe they could help me to even find a better version of myself by pushing myself even harder, right?
Yeah.
So that's the reasoning behind the move to Vietnam. And then 3 years in Vietnam, somehow there's a lot of AI initiatives that I have been piloting in Vietnam, mainly because the technical talent in Vietnam is just so quick to respond and take on the opportunity to ride on the AI wave. Even before ChatGPT, there were already a lot of very technical builders playing around with AI.
Yeah.
And then from AWS perspective, obviously AI is important. I run different AI accelerator programs for AWS starting from 2023. So even before GenAI, I've been getting my hands dirty with running these AI-focused accelerator programs in Southeast Asia, right? So it just comes to a point where I started feeling that this is such an opportunity it's such a great opportunity that you have to build something out of it. And it's such a great timing that it so happened that the other two ex-colleagues of mine, Laura and Danny, they are also available, right? So I think the timing is just so nice that GenAI just happened and there's so much opportunity that's untapped. And at the same time, I have two ex-colleagues who share so many similar working traits and culture that it's just so easy for us to work together and understand each other personally and professionally. And we just decided that, hey, it's such a fun time. There's a lot of uncertainty. Maybe we should build something together. So it's very different from the usual kind of startup way. Where is the problem? And let's find a problem to fix it. But for me, because it's a lot of it is really focused on the team. It just so happened that a few great people with similar culture and synergy come together and decided that, hey, let's do something. And maybe it's GenAI Fund, maybe it's something else. But somehow we landed on the idea of on GenAI Fund.
Interesting.